So the name for today's practice is baby got back strength. So it gives us opportunity to think about strength and balance along the back side of the body. So we'll do a few things that are definitely, I guess, tuning into the hamstrings, the back of the legs, the glutes, and then up the back. Do some, I guess we could say, balancing on one leg and some chair, utkatasana, so that will feel like work for the glutes. And then also there is some, we'll spend some time in our tummy doing some back extension, and we'll practice throughout the class ways of aligning, bringing a long tail into our back extension so that we can do that in a way that isn't crunching for our back. So I guess lots of different kinds of back strength there, but we'll finish off the class with some pigeon variations, some kind of longer pigeons. So yeah, that should be a nice way of lengthening out those muscles after warming them up and getting them active. So to start out, you can find a comfortable seat. I'm going to sit up on my little cushion. Make sure your hips are up higher than your knees. Roll the shoulders back. You can take a bit of a neck roll if you like. Your comfy seat, you can bring your hands out on your thighs or in your lap. Grow tall through the spine even as we settle down through the lower body. You can come into a yogic breath. So inhaling and exhaling through the nose. Inhaling first into the belly, letting the belly expand, and then inhaling into the chest. Slight pause at the top of the inhale and then reverse by exhaling, letting the chest deflate and then letting the belly draw in. Moving at the speed of your own breath, inhaling into the belly, into the chest. Slight pause between breaths and then exhale, letting the chest deflate, drawing the belly in. If you feel comfortable, you can close your eyes. Take a few minutes to come into the room, settle into the body. Get some practice with tuning into the breath. That feels like enough. You can gently blink your eyes open. Come forward into a tabletop, so you can bring your hands forward, clear any props out of the way. And to start, we will come into tabletop and do some cat paws to warm up the hands and the wrists. So starting with one hand, lifting up the heel of the hand, balls of the fingers, peeling the fingers up, and then drawing your little cat paw in, bent elbow, bent wrist, fingers all curled up, and then setting down gently, rolling the fingers down. Front of the palm comes down, back of the palm, and then onto the other side. So heel of the palm, balls of the palm, rolling the fingers up. Moving at your own pace here. If you like, you can move at the speed of your breath. Optional to add in a purr. If you do speed up, still maintain the rolling feeling up and down of your hands as they come. Feel on and off of the mat. That's what will help warm up the fingers, the hands, and the wrists. When that feels like enough, we'll come into cat and cow. So planting your hands, fingers spread out underneath your shoulders. Find a bit of grip with your finger pads, so actively using your hands here. Knees are underneath your hips, and then inhaling, chin coming up, tail coming up, exhaling, center of the back rises, chin tucks in. At the speed of your own breath, inhaling to look up, exhaling to round down. Keeping this gentle, starting out the practice with easy range of motion. As you go through several cycles at your own pace, you always have the option to increase the range of motion if you feel like you want to. After this cycle, you can come back to a neutral spine, and we'll step back through our left leg, press the left toes under, so we're getting a bit of a stretch through our calf here, drawing up on our tummy to keep our low back supported and neutral. And then you can lift up on your left foot, so your left foot comes up about hip height, definitely not higher. Want to keep both hips level here. And then if it feels okay with your balance, you can reach out with your right arm. So opposite arm, opposite leg, continuing to draw up on the belly, supporting the spine. Nice easy breathing here. Take a deep breath in to stretch arm and leg long and straight, and then exhale, coming down both sides. We can step back through the right foot this time, tucking the toes under, finding a nice stretch for the calf. And when that feels like enough, we can lift right foot up to about hip height, keeping both hips level, keeping the chest level with the ground, nice and square. Your middle toe is facing down towards the ground. Draw up through the belly, and with an inhale, lift the left arm up, opposite arm, opposite leg, pressing down through one hand and one knee, and letting that connection with the ground lift up through our spine, up through our body. A nice strong back here, definitely no sagging. Deep breath in as we inhale, stretch and straighten arm and leg, and then exhale, bring them both down. Option here to take a few breaths in child's pose or join us for another set. Stepping back through the calf, a little quicker this time. Inhale to lift the left leg. Next inhale lifts right arm. Drawing up on the tummy, pushing down on the hand and the knee. Inhale to stretch out long, and then exhale, coming down. Stepping back through the right toes, little stretch for the calf. Inhale to lift up through the heel, toes are pointing down. Next inhale, picking up. Left arm, drawing up through the tummy as we push down through the hand and the knee. Inhale to grow long, and exhale. Hands and knee come down here. We will take some hip circles on the left. With your knee at about 90 degrees. Do a little kick back out to the side. Sometimes this gets called hip mandala, hip circle. Circling out and forward, and then we can take that on the other side. And feel free to take a break, come back and kneel for a moment while I demo this one. For this one, we'll start out a little like the Surya Churya, the sunbird. We'll lift so that the knee is about level with the hip. Both hips are still level with one another, so not opening out to the side, but hip bones are both pointing down towards the mat. As if we're stepping on the ceiling, we have our foot kind of active, so a bit of energy through the heel. From here, really important to draw up strong through the tummy, and then we can do slight lifts. If you're really strong through your tummy, your leg doesn't lift very much. We do that 3 times. If you lift your leg a lot, often that's when the upper body comes down or the back bends too much, and we want to make this subtle and strengthening for the back and for the glutes rather than looking for big movement or big flexibility. So let's give that a try. We can, if you prefer, stick with the hip circles we just did. Otherwise, we can lift the right knee up to hip height, right foot facing the ceiling. Hips are level, chest is level, really drawing up on the tummy, and then a little squeeze up, like someone put a book or a tray on our foot. Give it a straight lift. 3 little lifts and then coming down. And then we'll come up left side, finding our aligned position. Hip bones pointing down, chest is level with the ground, drawing up on the abdomen, supporting the spine in a strong way. Very little lift with the leg. Once you've done enough, bring your knees down, bring your knees a little wider, bring your feet together. You can reach forward, bring the head down into Balasana, child's pose. Finding your breath here and letting your back lengthen. So finding some heaviness in your hips, drawing down towards your heels. Letting that start a waterfall coming forward. That feels like enough. You can come up into a tabletop. Briefly say see you later to the mat. Our toes under, and then come up into a downward dog. And let your knees stay bent. Shine your sitting bones up towards the ceiling. Let your heels be heavy. It's something to practice here. We can lift our heels if they're not already lifted and feel like we're drawing our heels back. So without moving our feet on the mat, get the feeling like we're drawing our heels back. You may notice that this kind of activates or lights up the muscles on the back of your legs. A little more calf, a little more hamstrings and glutes. Might feel it in your tummy as well. You can relax, come into a more passive motion with the feet, letting your heels relax down towards the mat. The next inhale, we'll give that one more try, lifting up on the heels, imagining drawing them back, lighting up the abdominal muscles and the backs of the legs. Bend our knees more here. Bring our gaze up and in between our hands, and then take as many steps as you like to bring your hands up behind your feet. Knees can be very bent here.
We will find Uttanasana. Now that we're on our feet, we can start to think about where our balance is, where our weight is. Rock, sway, front to back a little bit. Notice how it feels to have your weight more in your toes, more in your heels. And then find a middle place. And bring your hands to your shins. If your shins are really vertical, often the weight coming down to the middle of your feet with vertical shins means your knees will be a little bit bent. So your hips are moving a little bit behind you. And that's good. That helps us keep a balanced position with our weight and healthy for our back. Ground down through the feet, charge up through the legs, and we'll draw up through the belly as we inhale, lifting all the way up. Breath in, exhale, hands come down to our sides in Tadasana. You can roll the shoulders back, draw up on the kneecaps. And today especially we'll think about letting the tailbone draw down, feeling like we could send our tailbone down through our heels. So like we're almost like a snake with a forked tail, and that we're sending our tailbone down through our heels. We can draw in slightly on the abdomen so that we have, that helps provide strength for the spine, but it also helps with this lengthening of the tailbone down. Bring your blocks to the front of your mat, and want to be probably 1 or 2 feet from your blocks. And blocks on their highest height, we can inhale, arms coming all the way up. Exhale, swan diving over bent knees. We'll come into Uttanasana, find that nice balanced weight. Vertical calves, knees are bent. And then we'll find our hands on the block and find a supported Utthita Uttanasana, or Ardha Uttanasana. Drawing in on the tummy, letting the neck be long. And then finding a position for the hips where we can center our weight on our feet. So sometimes with the blocks out in front of us, we tend to rock our weight forward into our toes. Let your weight come to the center of your foot. This might mean that your hips end up a little bit behind you. From here, we can draw up on the belly and may find that we can get lighter and lighter through our hands. Inhale all the way up. Exhale, we'll come down into an Uttanasana all the way down. Checking our shins, nice vertical shins. Finding our weight in our feet. Finding the right position for our hips for that. And then with an inhale, we'll come up into Uttanasana. Maybe a little lighter on the blocks this time. And really finding that middle part of the foot. Really positioning your weight there. Aiming for vertical shins. And the hips will find whatever position they need in order to balance your body weight. I'm not saying to do this, but as a contrast, if your legs were really straight, if you had locked out knees here, your weight would be in your toes and your back would have a lot more, a much bigger lever for your back muscles to cope with. And that's not a very functional way to bend over. So I want to practice this nice, strong way to lift the back of a Honda if you ground down through the feet,
through the center of the feet, charge up through the legs, drawing up through the tummy as we get lighter and lighter through the fingers. Inhale, coming all the way up. And then we'll find our Tadasana. With your feet where they are, as an option, you could bring your feet a little closer together. We'll find a chair pose. So we'll, finding our weight through the center of our foot again, so not into the toes and not too much into the heels. We can pull down through our tail, so this idea of letting our tail grow down towards our heels, drawing in on the abdomen. A nice chair pose with the legs, and then as an option, bringing in the arms. If this feels intense, if it's a lot, you're starting to get a bit of a burn, you can always inhale, grow tall, take a few breaths, and exhale to come back into a nice aligned chair pose. Staying in chair pose in an unaligned way is not really what we're looking for, so take as many breaths as you need, as many breaks as you need, in order to stay with a long tail, the drawn in tummy, relaxed shoulders, and with weight in the center of your feet. From here, we'll take a deep breath in, and then exhale, come down, straightening the legs a little bit, down into our Uttanasana. Letting go of the head, letting the head hang heavy and loose. Take it around if you like. And bend our knees even more, bringing our hands to the mat. And we'll step back with the left foot. Finding a few breaths in a lunge here. I'm going to move my blocks a little further ahead because we'll step back, both feet. Option to come to your knees here. Deep breath in, and then as you exhale, coming down onto your tummy. We'll click the tops of our feet onto the mat and get that feeling like we had when we were standing of the tailbone growing long down through the heels. We have a long tail that starts up at our hips, up in our back. You could rise up for any amount of cobra. Gaze looks forward, or maybe gaze comes up a little bit. Maintaining that length through the low back. Exhale, coming down. Press down back into a child's pose. You can stay in child's pose for a little bit, or you can come up into a downward dog. We'll stay here for several breaths. Turning your tailbone up towards the sky, letting your knees be bent. Head is heavy. From here, we can inhale to lift the right foot up, and then exhale to step the right foot forward. So we have a lunge here on the other side. Taking one breath into the lunge, and then as many steps as we need to bring both feet up to the front of the mat, Uttanasana, forward fold. Finding the weight through the center part of our foot. Finding our nice vertical shins. Letting our hips find whatever position supports that. And then as we inhale, coming all the way up, hands down towards the center of the chest. We'll try that on the other side as well. So inhale, bring your feet together or feet hip width apart. As we exhale, we'll sit into our chair. Kapotasana. We're here for a few breaths. Take as many breaks as you need with leg straightening, the arm movements, any shaking out of the legs that you like. When you're in chair, tailbone is lengthening down. Tummy is drawing in. We're finding strength through the back of the legs, through the back of the body. An inhale here. Option to bring the arms up. And then exhale
Bringing the hands down towards the mat, coming forward into Uttanasana, forward fold. Letting the head hang heavy. Right away, finding our vertical shins, weight centered in the feet. And bend our knees a little more. Find our hands on the mat, stepping back with the right foot. We have one breath and a lunge. And then we'll step back, both feet, either coming into a tabletop or into a plank. We'll take an inhale here, and then exhale, coming down onto your tummy, your elbows close to your body, put your toenails onto the mat, right away growing long through the tailbone. Long snake tail coming back, elbows start to move down and back towards the hips, coming up into any amount of cobra, deep breath in here. Exhale, coming down, we can move back, moving through child's pose or staying in child's pose for several breaths. Option to come up the tabletop or to come all the way up into a downward dog. And we're here for several breaths. If you like, you can try the reminder of lifting the heels and then isometrically drawing the heels back towards the back of your mat. Noticing if you feel that lighting up through the back of your legs, maybe through your tummy. And you can relax that. If you're in tabletop or in child's pose, you can join us in downward dog. We'll lift the left leg up and then step the left leg forward into a lunge. Here for one breath with the chest shining forward. And then as we exhale, as many steps as we need to come forward into forward fold. Uttanasana, finding right away our balanced weight, vertical shins. Really becoming familiar with this hip position that helps us to find a balanced spot. From here we can charge down through our feet, drawing up through our legs, up through the tummy. We inhale, coming all the way up. Exhale, hands come from the chest. And then I'll face the front of my mat. If you're already facing the front of your mat, you're in the right place. And I will take a step back. All right. So we have an option to do some standing pigeon. We can ground our weight into our right foot, pick up our left foot, and then bring our left foot, or left ankle above the right knee. We'll take a few variations of this standing pigeon. If this isn't great for you, you could always use the wall to balance. Hold on to a chair, or if you want to get the stretch of a pigeon, you can come onto the figure 4 stretch on your back. For while we're standing, bring our hands to prayer in front of our chest. And it actually gets easier as we bend our knee. So we bend our standing leg, and this sends our hips back, creates more of a shelf for our floating leg, or resting leg, we could say. Inhale to come up a little higher. Exhale to bend down. This time paying lots of attention into where the weight is in your foot. Inhaling to come up. Exhaling to come down. Next option here, if it feels like something that's reasonable to you, will be to bring the weight a little bit forward. So you could bring the weight onto some blocks. Might feel reasonable to bring your hands down to the mat. You'll notice the more you're bending your standing leg, the more stretch you get in your hip, but it also brings you closer to the ground. The other variation here, if it's part of your practice, and if you are playing with crow pose on a regular basis, is to bring your shin onto your elbows, bend your elbows deeply, start to serve more weight onto your hands, maybe lift up to your back foot. The flying pigeon variation would be to have your standing leg become an airborne leg way up behind you, but I'm not doing that one today. We'll come out the way we came in, getting lighter and lighter in our fingers, coming up to standing, and then bringing both our legs down. Bit of a hokey pokey here. Let our legs wiggle around. And then we can try the other side. So we can lift the other leg this time. Ankle lands just above the knee. We will find this is easier when we find a good bend. Find the center weight, or your weight in the center of your foot. Find that nice middle ground. Notice how it sends your hips back. Let your tailbone grow down to draw your tummy in. And whenever it feels right, you can start to, oh, wait, let's do some squats on this side. You come down, inhale to come up, keeping our weight centered in our foot, coming down. Inhale, come up, exhale. And now we can bring our hands down to blocks, maybe down to the ground. If you tried it on the other side, you could always try the flying pigeon variation on this side. We get a real contrast here between the work of the glutes and the standing leg and the stretch and the lengthening of our resting leg. One more deep breath in here, and then finding the middle weight in our foot again. Lighter and lighter through the fingers. Bring up to standing. Both feet down. We can take a shake. Pokey pokey through our arms and legs. We'll take another deep breath in at the top of our mat. Exhale, swan dive forward. We can bend the knees. Vertical shins. Weight is centered. From here, you can step back with both feet. We're going to come down on our tummy, so come down whatever way makes sense to you. Lower down, do a push-up if you like. So now that we're on our tummy, we'll click our toenails down and find that lengthening through our tailbone. We have some alligator options here. You bring your hands alongside your body, thumbs facing forward, pinkies facing up towards the sky. And from here, you can inhale and lift the chest off the mat. Gaze will be on the mat, but a little bit ahead of you. Still staying very long through the tailbone, and we can still keep our toenails down on the mat. We can deep breath in here, and then as we exhale, bring our head down to our hands, bend our knees. We can windshield wiper our legs side to side, so kind of loosening up the back there. And then we can find another version of Makrasana, crocodile. We'll start clicking our toenails down, lengthening through our tails, so staying really long through our lower back, activating our abdominal muscles, so drawing up and in on the tummy. We'll inhale here, option to raise the chest as we did before, or if you like, and if you are focused on maintaining length through your tail, maybe lifting up through the feet as well. So feet stay the same distance apart, lots of length through the tail, length through the back of the neck. So it's more about long here than it is about crunching upwards into a C shape or a U shape. One more deep breath here, and then slowly, gently lengthen our way down. Head comes on our hands, windshield wiper with the legs. From here, we can try a bow pulling posture. If you really like a regular bow, where you're holding on to both of your feet, feel free to do that. I'm going to do a one leg bow variation. So I'll have one arm straight out in front. I'll catch hold of my left leg to start with. Lengthen my tailbone down through my straight leg. And then inhale, kicking back through your bent leg, lengthening through your straight arm, straight leg. If you do have hold of both legs, make sure that your knees keep a relationship with one another so they're not floating too far apart. Take a deep breath in here with long arm, long tail leg, and then exhale, coming down gently. Head on your arm, windshield wiper through your legs. When you feel ready, we can prepare for the next side. So grabbing our ankle or feet, using a strap if it's tough to reach your foot. And we'll initiate this by growing the tailbone long down towards the heel. Inhale to draw up. And long through the back leg. Continuing to draw the tummy upward, sending the tailbone back long through the leg. Straight arm, straight leg. Deep inhale here, and then exhale, coming down slowly, gently. Letting go of the leg without a slingshot, and resting your head on your hands, finding your gentle windshield wiper again. The next back strengthener that I would offer is Shalabhasana. Shalabhasana is the locust pose. And for this one, we'll try a variation where the forearms come underneath the body. So my palms will be on the mat, pinkies together. Another option would be to, interlacing the hands gets tough, but you can bring your one hand over the other and then bring your thumbs down onto the mat. So your fists would rest
right about your pubic bone. If those don't feel comfortable, or if that's not working for you today, you can do another version of the makrasana, the crocodile that we started out with. So either lifting the chest or the chest and the legs. We'll find our way onto our tummy. Oh, this is might be nice to put a towel or something down underneath your face, because that you'll be kissing the mat for this one. Going along through your tail, along through your heels, and then kissing the mat, inhale to lift up on your legs any amount. Finding a few breaths there, and then exhaling to come gently down, rocking off with your arms and bringing your arms underneath your head. Get another windshield wiper side to side. From here, we can push our way up to a tabletop position, and we'll find a pigeon pose. So I usually like to come into pigeon from downward dog. I feel like I have lots of space underneath me to bring my shin forward. But however you like to come into pigeon. If you do find that you're having trouble with alignment, or one of your hips is quite far off the mat, you can always take your block and kind of push that underneath, so that kind of straightens things out. I like to tuck my back toe, because I feel like that gives my pigeon pose a little more alignment. It helps to push the hip of my straight leg forward a little bit. And I like that, because then I feel like I'm more aligned. There is a version of pigeon pose where you reach back for your leg behind you. Rather than doing that option today, we'll take a more relaxed version of pigeon posture that does a lot to stretch the hip of your bent leg. So we'll inhale to rise up through the chest, and then exhale, start to come down any amount. Maybe bringing your elbows to a block so that you can rest your upper body a bit more. Sometimes after several breaths, you may find that you can start to bring your body a little further down. Maybe even your chest starts to come to a block. These are options and variations rather than goals. If you feel that your chest is already on the floor, and you are looking to take out some of the slack in the fascia to get more of a stretch across your glutes and your back body, you can start to rotate, kind of like when we do thread the needle, and rotate away from your foot. So from there, you might have your hand on your bent knee. Sometimes introducing a bit of a twist here can help to take out some of the slack. The important thing is to find a position where you can breathe into the stretch and really relax and lengthen the muscles. In yoga, we're really aiming for a feeling rather than a particular appearance or a particular angle. And a nice feeling to aim for is always ease, length, relaxation, comfort. It doesn't have to be hard to be good. One more deep breath in here, and then any way that makes sense for you to switch, you could come back into a downward dog or into a tabletop. I like to, since I'm down on the mat anyway, like to swap out a more chill way. You have your other leg back, you could decide whether you want to tuck your toe under, settle into a comfy spot, knowing that you can always support yourself with a block or a prop, maybe a blanket. Start out, the full rising chest, maybe a bit of lengthening through the neck. And as we exhale, starting to come down, maybe spider creeping the fingers forward and taking breaths as we move forward. Letting the muscles ease into this new length. Be purposeful and intentional, not in a rush to get to any particular spot here. Kind of enjoying the feeling of lengthening these muscles that have done a lot of work during this practice. In restorative yoga, they often use the blocks and then bring a big bolster on top of them so you can have a really comfy supported pigeon. So if you have any props in your environment, as well make use of them. All the smartest animals use tools. As you breathe into this posture, if you feel called to it, if your body is asking for more length, and it feels comfortable and easeful, feel free to follow that, move into any other variations that feel good. Bringing your chest down, maybe forward. Finding a bit of a twist. Wherever you are, breathing into the length. Identifying if there's any remaining pockets of tension in your jaw, maybe holding tension in your tummy. See what you can relax, what you can let go of. Melts down. Finding more ease in the pigeon pose. Kapotasana, the one-legged king of the pigeons. A few more breaths here. Gradually, gently, starting to move your way into a seated position. Take our legs out in front of us. This is where we'll want our roll or bolster or towel or rolled up yoga mat. Take this underneath our knees. And we'll click our heels down onto the floor, draw our toes back towards us. Just like when we were standing with our centered weight, our vertical shins and our hips a little bit behind us, as we came into that forward fold, finding all the length and ease in our back. We'll try that here in paschimottanasana, the forward fold. We'll find it with a bit of bend in our knees. So we have this supported, whatever's supporting you. It's nice to have something big here. So as bent as your knees were in standing, it's nice to have them that bent right now. We can take an inhale, shoulders drawing back, maybe draw the arms up. And then as we exhale, we can bring our arms forward, lean forward with our chest. And we can start to come down any amount. Thinking about our belly button, aiming towards our knees. You can walk your sitting flesh, your bum flesh out behind you a little bit. That might give you a little more access. And holding on to whatever you hold on to, breathing into length on the back of your legs, your back body. If you do find that your chest comes onto your legs and that's comfortable and restful, that's great. Feel free to rest there. You could bring another bolster or a block underneath you to support your chest, and then you can relax your head. So we can find a more passive version of this forward fold. The reason we have the block or the bolster under our chest is so that we have a bit of support, so that the whole weight of our upper body isn't just hanging on the ligaments of our back. It might be that after you breathe into this for a few cycles of breath, you want to change from a high block to a medium block, but that's an option, it's not a goal. You're breathing into the length on the back side of the body. You're finding ease in the posture. That's as much as you need to do. Paschimottanasana is a very introverted posture, self-reflection, literal navel gazing, and that's okay. One more breath in here, and then gently start to roll our way up with the help of our arms. Take a big reach up towards the ceiling with our arms in this Dandasana, staff pose. Pull back, long legs. And then we can bring our arms down. We can say goodbye to the prop that's under our knees. We'll take a few breaths in a supported fish pose. Supported Matsyenmana, and then we'll we'll support this fish pose by bringing a block in between our shoulder blades and another block underneath our head. You can also do this with cushions. You could do it with your rolled up towel. We want to have opening through the chest. So our shoulder blades get to melt down on either side of the block. Arms can be down by your sides with your palms facing the ceiling, or if it's comfortable, start to move your arms out, maybe like a capital letter A, closer to letter T. If you have any tenderness in your back, any pulling in your low back with this, you can always bend your knees, keep your feet flat on the floor. If you had a small block or cushion underneath your shoulders, you might not need something under your head. If your shoulders are boosted up high, we want to open the throat a little bit, but without any crunching in the back of the neck. Take it easy, comfortable, supported. Bring in any pockets of tension in your chest, in your shoulders, neck, your abdomen. Your shoulders melt back and down, letting the prop push your heart forward just slightly. When you feel ready, use your hands to lift your head, bringing your chin in, coming up on your elbows, clearing away your props off to the side and then gently rolling down, finding the final relaxation of this practice, settling into Savasana. Your feet flop lazily onto their sides, ankles loose and relaxed, calves are heavy. Your knees juicy and alive. Letting go of all the tension in your thighs. Letting your legs be heavy. Sinking down into the mat. The left and right side of your pelvis draw apart from one another just slightly. Making space for your sacrum, your tailbone to sink down into the mat. Hips widening. Feeling your spine contact the mat. Letting go of any tension in your shoulders. Spreading wide across your collarbones. Letting your full shoulder blades contact the mat. Spreading down, spreading wide. Letting your upper arms relax. Grow heavy. Letting go of any tension, any gripping in your forearms. The palms of your hands spread out. Fingers curl in gently. Feeling the muscles of your neck relax. Muscles of your jaw loosen, unhinge, relax. All the muscles around your ears relax, your eyes, your temples, your forehead smooth out and relax. Your head sinks a little deeper into the mat. Patanjali was the yogi who wrote the Yoga Sutra, and his definition for yoga is yogam chittam vritti nirodha. Yoga is the stilling of thoughts in the mind. You imagine the surface of a lake on a windy day, frothy waves all over the surface of the lake. If you dropped a pebble into this lake, it would be hard to notice. You wouldn't see the ripples. But when the wind dies down and the waves get still, the lake becomes reflective. You drop a pebble into a still lake, ripples spread out into forever. Stilling of thoughts in the mind is not going to sleep. It's not a lack of awareness, but rather an increased focused awareness, where you can pay attention and appreciate even the smallest ripples. Stilling thoughts gives us greater sensitivity to our own deeper thoughts, feelings. We get to know ourselves better. Bring some movement into your fingers, into your toes. Maybe circling your wrists, your ankles. Turning your head a little bit side to side. Gently rolling your neck. If you like, you can bring your arms up alongside your head. Stretching long arms and legs. Maybe yawn. And when you feel ready, you can roll yourself onto your right hand side. Cradling your head and your arm. We take a moment here to consolidate the practice. About how it went, what we noticed, what we learned, our thoughts, pockets of tension in the body. Noticing when we breathe and when we hold our breath. And without attaching any judgment to it, We can put this practice behind us. Kiss it goodbye. And then gently push ourselves up to a seated position. Find your hands out on your knees. We'll take an inhale here. Exhale, hands at your center. Thanks for sharing your practice today. Always nice to see you. Namaste. Rosa came to visit.
Oh, yes.